Tēnā koutou. Welcome to this version of TED Talks. I'm Jenny Powell. I'm the South Dee poet Lorikeet for the Dunedin City of Literature. This is my co-presenter, Ted, so we are coming to you from Otipoti, Dunedin, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Ted and I have had a great pleasure recently of visiting 5-year-olds in schools. 5-year-olds who are so ripe for learning and so empathic and beautiful in the sharing of ideas. Why have we been visiting 5-year-olds? Well, we have been on a dual mission to connect poetry and literacy. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching in primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, so I'm comfortable working with everybody, but there's something exquisite about new entrants who are beginning this long path of never-ending education in a structured setting. Prior to this, prior to their entering school, they have, we hope, had lots of stimulation with oral language, with whānau experiences. And so to incorporate that into our program, Ted and I have been building quite a structured program in a sense based on oral language, writing and reading. These are the literacy components. Within that context, we have incorporated poetry. Poetry builds on what they already know, on the beat of language, on the beat of their whānau, on an oral connection as old as evolution. To that end, when we've been visiting, we have had lots of oral discussion. We've had poems incorporating the early sounds and words that are taught to 5-year-olds. We've had movement to those. We've had rounds incorporating those ideas. So we begin with a kind of structure and wonder that everyone can be part of. I've then read the 5-year-olds some of my own poems that we get kind of immersed in language and the beauty of poetry. Then, out of my bag of tricks during these sessions, I have pulled out Teddy. I never envisaged that Teddy would be so much of a hit. When I first pulled him out, the idea was, as with all writers, to be keen observers. What did we notice about this quite elderly bear? Well, he hasn't got much fur left. This led to concerns that he might get quite cold, and indeed whole poems about that and how to remedy that. The children who were really close to him noticed that he has some stitches down his back. Yes, he has had surgery. When Teddy was younger, he lost his voice, and so he went into the Dolls Hospital to get a voice transplant, you could say. It lasted a while, but oh dear, Ted has no voice. Ted can't talk. That was quite a dilemma for some of the children that Ted and I were meeting. In fact, it became a topic. If you can't talk, you can't communicate. You can't read to each other. What would he do? Some of the solutions were extraordinary, and some of the ideas about why he might have lost his fur were just wonderful. And each school seemed to have a different topic for Ted. I didn't drive the topic or create it. The children did. And so each class had this wonderful oral language going on. Sometimes it veered off. Sometimes children had to raise their own concerns. In one class, there was a little boy who was going to shift. He was going to move to another town altogether, and he was worried he wouldn't get his copy of the book. That led to a conversation with him about some of his concerns and reassurance. And during that time, the children around him were quiet and respectful and caring of him. It was such a joy to be part of these little side issues that happened perhaps because we were in a mood with Ted of this empathy and observation. It happened in more than one place, but it could have been that the environments of the classes created by their wonderful teachers were already like that. I can't say, but I was just privileged to be part of it. In different schools, there were different poems, but what would we do with these poems? I always wanted to make this circular connection between whānau, school, city of literature, and to a lesser degree myself, and to a greater degree him. Not that he was stealing the limelight or anything. So this wonderful, wonderful thing has happened. Dunedin City of Literature has created the most beautiful book. And if ever there's a reason for keeping books as a resource, it is something like this. This little book is beyond my dreams. It firstly catches the eye of any small child. And it has a kind of tactile cover on it. You can feel something here. And guess who was on the cover? Ted. Ted is not silent anymore. Ted talks in this book. These are partly his words, partly the words of small children. What happens when we look inside? Well, we see the beginnings of how we teach structure of books. Here is a contents page. What does a contents page mean? Let's see. What does the number take us to? The beginnings of the poems and these extraordinarily presented photos of Teddy. Teddy poems, Teddy photos. Here he is looking at the reader. As the book progresses, there are these beautiful, colourful backgrounds, and Teddy in a photograph that gives small people a context to the poem. It helps them predict some of the words that they will encounter in the text, as well as remembering that they were part of this creation and they already know some of it. This book is a keeper, and the best thing about this book is that every single child got a copy of the book to share with their whānau. And so that magical, most important link of literacy, of a connection between school and the wider world is made. It doesn't really get any better. To finish off, I want to share with you, it has to be 2 poems. I couldn't help myself in the end. It just has to be. You'll find out why in a minute. Yes? Yes. Addressing the fur, or lack of, Teddy is. Teddy is furry like a lion. He is furry like a puppy. He is furry like a rabbit. He is furry like a donkey. He is furry like a kiwi fruit. He is not furry like a turtle. He might have fallen and grazed his tummy. He might have been bitten by a dog. He might have lost his fur because he's a grandpa. The poem that I'd like to read to you now is a wonderful example of children problem solving within a context. What they decided to do at their school, which had a new playground, is to take Teddy to the swing. The problem is, how does he get there? The ending says it all. The ending is our way forward, not only with children, but perhaps as a society and as a global society. Teddy toddles to the swing. Teddy walks past the tall trees. He walks on yellow ko-fi flowers. He walks across the boardwalk. He walks in the chilly wind. Teddy walks to the plum tree to eat some fruit. He is so full, he bounces on his tummy to the swing. Teddy could make a ladder from little sticks and climb onto the swing, or he could jump, or we could lift him up.